Ever notice how every official emergency guide sounds the same? Water, food, flashlight, batteries. But what if I told you there's a second list, the real list that FEMA won't talk about? Tools that give you an edge. Tools that make you self-reliant beyond what the government wants. These aren't conspiracy theories, they're survival facts nobody's handing out for free. And once you see what's missing from their checklist, you'll never trust the system the same way again. Let's be honest, FEMA gives you the bare minimum. It's not about thriving, it's about surviving just enough. But if you plan to actually stay ahead when things go dark, you'll need more than bottled water and duct tape. There's a whole layer of survival gear that quietly gets left out of the official narrative. Whether it's too tactical, too independent, or just not politically convenient, you're about to see 12 tools they'll never recommend, but you'll absolutely want in your kit. Number 1. Sillsoc key. When the taps go dry and bottled water is gone, most people panic. But seasoned preppers know a hidden trick: commercial buildings hide water in plain sight, and the only thing standing between you and it is a small 4-way tool called a sillsoc key. This tool is built to open outdoor water spigots in places like schools, malls, office buildings, and gas stations. These spigots don't have standard handles, they're purposely locked to prevent public access. But with a sillsoc key, you can tap into those pipes and access pressurized, treated water flowing through the same city supply as your home long after everyone else is scrambling. FEMA will never mention this. Why? Because it gives you access to resources they'd rather keep regulated. It's not about illegal use, it's about knowing where to get water when survival matters more than red tape. And in urban survival, that knowledge is priceless. This tool fits in your pocket, weighs next to nothing, and can provide hundreds of gallons if used smartly. It doesn't require strength, batteries, or setup. Just find the outlet, insert the key, turn, and you've got access to a lifeline. Pro tip: learn where sillsoc spigots are in your area now. Don't wait for disaster to start scouting. And always purify the water you collect no matter the source. Bottom line, you can only last 3 days without hydration. And when everyone else is standing in line for a water truck, you'll be filling your containers quietly, independently, and without drawing attention. This isn't a gimmick, it's not a luxury. It's urban survival 101, and the reason it's not on any official list is exactly why you need it in your kit. Number 2, pry bar, mini crowbar. In a real crisis, locked doors aren't suggestions, they're obstacles. And when you're trying to escape, scavenge, or rescue someone, you won't always have team or permission to wait around. That's why every serious survivalist carries a mini pry bar, small enough to fit in a bag, strong enough to move obstacles, and quiet enough to stay under the radar. This isn't about looting or lawlessness. It's about access. Imagine an earthquake hits and someone's trapped behind a jammed door, or you're stuck in a building and need to force your way out. Power's down, elevators are dead, and normal tools don't cut it. The pry bar steps in where your hands, your multi-tool, and your knife fail. What makes it powerful is its simplicity. No batteries, no moving parts, just solid steel leverage you can count on in the worst moments. It can lift debris, crack open nailed crates, pry stuck doors, or break through light barriers without drawing attention like a hammer or saw. FEMA won't tell you to carry one. Why? Because it's a tool built for mobility and control, and agencies don't like promoting that kind of independence. They'd rather you wait for help. But help doesn't always come fast. Sometimes, it doesn't come at all. A good mini crowbar is around 8 to 12 inches, forged from carbon steel or titanium. Look for a curved claw, flat wedge edge, and a design that won't bend under stress. You can store it in your pack, glove box, or even duct tape it flat under a vehicle seat. Pro tip: combine it with a pair of gloves and a flashlight, you've just built a quiet, night-ready entry kit for tight spots and unknown terrain. This isn't a fantasy weapon or some tactical hype tool. It's what firefighters, rescue crews, and utility workers carry for real-world emergencies. When speed matters and options are few, the pry bar gives you leverage literally. In survival, access is everything. Don't rely on chance, rely on force. Quiet, smart, mechanical force that gets you through what stands between you and freedom. Number 3, gas shoot-off wrench. When disaster hits, especially earthquakes or explosion zone, of the most immediate threats isn't what's collapsing outside, it's what's leaking inside, gas lines. And if you don't shut them off fast, a bad situation can turn deadly in seconds. That's why a gas shutoff wrench is one of the smartest, most underrated tools you can carry, and the reason you won't find it in most FEMA kits. Here's how it works. Natural gas lines can rupture, leak, and spark after structural damage. One tiny spark near a broken pipe, and boom, you're not just dealing with a blackout, you're dealing with a fireball. This wrench gives you the power to stop that. No electricity, no fancy skills. Just a quarter turn of the valve and you cut off the gas before it becomes a killer. This tool is specially shaped to fit standard shutoff valves, usually found near your meter. It's non-sparking, rust-resistant, and often comes with an additional feature to open water mains too. Some models even include pry points or small hammerheads for emergency braking and entry. Why won't FEMA push this more? Liability. Encouraging people to touch utility systems is risky, but in the real world, waiting for a professional can cost lives. Pro tip: mount one near your gas meter. Now use zip ties, a hook, or Velcro. In an emergency, you won't have time to dig through your gear. The bottom line: this tool doesn't look cool. It doesn't feel tactical, but it saves homes, prevents explosions, and gives you direct control over one of the most volatile threats in any disaster scenario. No batteries, no noise, just raw prevention. And once the quake hits or the blast goes off, it'll be the tool everyone suddenly wishes they had. Number 4, reusable zip tie cuffs. They look like something out of a cop movie, but in the real world of survival, reusable zip tie cuffs are one of the most flexible and underrated tools you can carry. Forget what you've seen in movies. This isn't just about restraining people. These heavy-duty ties are multi-purpose survival gear that FEMA never includes in their polished brochures. First, yes, they can be used for temporary restraint in volatile situations. If your group is breached, if you're dealing with someone unstable, or if you need to keep someone from harming themselves or others, having this tool gives you a clear tactical edge. But let's go beyond that. These aren't your average hardware store zip ties. Reusable cuffs are thicker, longer, and designed for repeated heavy use. You can lash down gear, secure tarps, reinforce broken zippers, or bind together wood or poles for shelter frames. They're especially useful in high-stress situations when you don't have time to tie perfect knots. Why does no one talk about them? Because the word restraint makes emergency guides nervous. Agencies prefer soft skills and community building. But in real survival, you need control over your gear, your space, and sometimes, the people around you. Look for models that lock with a button or latch rather than the one-time use style. Choose ones made from UV-resistant nylon or reinforced polymer so they don't snap in extreme heat or cold. Pro tip: always pack at least a half dozen. You'll use them for more than you expect, from securing stretchers to patching broken packs. Bottom line: when things go sideways, simplicity and speed matter. Zip tie cuffs give you both. Whether you're keeping gear tight, building fast structures, or holding down chaos, you'll be glad you packed them. Silent. Strong. Reusable. Exactly what survival demands. Number 5, trauma shears. In any survival situation, the difference between a manageable injury and a fatal one often comes down to speed, how fast you can access and treat the wound. That's where trauma shears come in. These aren't your average scissors. They're designed for emergency response, built to cut through denim, boots, seatbelts, backpacks, even light metal fast, clean, and without hesitation. When seconds matter, you don't have time to fumble with a knife or rip through clothing with your hands. Trauma shears are blunt-tipped for safety, serrated for grip, and angled for leverage. Medics use them for a reason. They expose wounds in record time without causing additional harm. Whether it's applying a tourniquet, stopping a bleed, or just accessing a limb through winter Garthies, are the tools that make it happen. FEMA kits almost never include them. Why? Because they're not pretty. They look aggressive. They suggest injury is more likely than officials are willing to admit. But if you're prepping for reality, not comfort, you know that trauma is part of the deal. A good pair will be made of stainless steel, coated for rust resistance, and strong enough to handle multiple uses. Some even come with built-in tools like oxygen tank wrenches or ring cutters, but stick with durability first. Pro tip: keep one pair in your IFAC, individual first aid kit, and another in your vehicle's glove box. And always test them before adding to your kit. Keep ones bend or jam under pressure. You can't plan every injury, but you can prepare to respond like it counts. Trauma shears won't fix a wound, but they get you to it, fast, safely, and with no room for error. Simple, brutal, life-saving, and ignored by almost every mainstream checklist. Exactly the kind of tool they'll never tell you to carry, but you'll never want to be without. Number 6, blackout cloth, Light discipline tarp. When the grid goes down and your neighborhood plunges into darkness, even the faintest glow from a window can make you a target. That's why blackout cloth, also known as light discipline tarpus, a game changer in real survival scenarios. It's not flashy, it's not high-tech, but it could be the very thing that keeps your presence hidden when it matters most. Blackout cloth is thick, non-reflective, and designed to block 100% of light from escaping. Whether you're using lanterns, flashlights, or even a small fire, it stops that light from leaking out through tent seams, shelter gaps, or broken windows. In an environment where other people are cold, scared, and desperate, showing signs of comfort like light is an open invitation for trouble. FEMA won't mention this. Their focus is, stay visible, stay safe. But when things truly fall apart, visibility turns into vulnerability. Staying hidden is survival. You can use blackout cloth to line windows, divide rooms, build stealth shelters, or even conceal gear. It doubles as insulation, wind blocking, and emergency privacy. Look for materials like polyester or tightly woven canvas, preferably fire retardant. It should be thick enough to hold shape but foldable for storage. Some survivalists even treat it with odor-absorbing spray for added concealment. Pro tip: keep pre-cut panels ready for your home's windows. Practice sealing off a room in under 5 minutes. Time counts when the lights go out, and the world notices who still has power. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. Because in long-term blackouts, light becomes a beacon, and the last thing you want is desperate eyes locked on your location. Silent, shielding, absolutely invisible. Exactly how you want to be when darkness is your only cover. Number 7. Rat traps, modified for survival. When people think of survival gear, they imagine knives, water filters, maybe a firearm. But the real pros think smaller like rat traps, not the poison kind. We're talking snap traps, the old-school, spring-loaded kind your granddad used in the garage. Why? Because in survival, they're one of the most versatile, underrated tools you can pack. Let's start with the obvious food acquisition. These traps are silent, reusable, and require no bait beyond a crumb or smear of peanut butter. Set a few near your shelter or along known rodent paths, and you've got yourself a renewable source of protein. In cold weather, that could mean the difference between holding out and blacking out. But that's just the beginning. Rat traps can also serve as alarm triggers. Rig one with a fishing line and a few metal washers, and you've got an instant noise alert system if someone or something enters your perimeter. No batteries, no screens, just click and noise. They can also be used for gear protection. Animals love chewing through packs, tarps, and containers looking for food. Snap traps placed strategically around your base camp keep them away without resorting to poison or loud weapons. FEMA doesn't touch this topic. Why? Because it sounds too primal, too self-sufficient, too real. But any experienced outdoorsman or bushcrafter will tell you this is next-level practicality. Pro tip: pack traps with high spring tension and a metal trigger plate. Avoid plasticets less durable and more likely to crack, and always clean them after use to prevent scent buildup. These tools weigh almost nothing, take up no space, and solve 3 problems at once: food, security, and sanitation. In a world where silence, sustainability, and simplicity win, rat traps are king. Not glamorous, not expensive, just brutally effective. And that's exactly the kind of survival tool no one talks about until they're starving, exposed, and out of options. Number 8. 6mm plastic sheeting, contractor grade. If you had to build a wall, seal off a room, make a stretcher, collect rainwater, or shield against contamination all in the same day, what would you use? The answer is 6mm plastic sheeting, often labeled as contractor-grade poly. It's not flashy, but in survival, this one roll is a do-it-all powerhouse. And ironically, it's the kind of thing no one thinks about, until they're desperate. FEMA mentions tarps barely, but plastic sheeting? Not even a whisper. Why? Because it's not convenient or packaged in a flashy emergency kit. But seasoned preppers know. This material can create instant shelters, improvised hazmat barriers, or even blackout covers when you're trying to stay hidden. In disaster zones, plastic sheeting is used for quarantine, dust control, and containment. You can wrap it around windows after a blast, turn it into a rain catch system, or lay it down as a clean surface for surgery or sleeping. It folds flat, takes up minimal space, and lasts through wind, heat, and heavy abuse, especially the 6mm thickness. which offers excellent durability without being too rigid. Want to control airflow? Seal off a room for heating with a couple of clamps and some duct tape. Want to protect food stores or line a pit for water storage? It works there too. Pro tip: get clear or black depending on your needs. Clear for light transmission and greenhouse effects, black for concealment and insulation. Always store it in a dry tube or roll to avoid punctures. Most people are one broken window or one contaminated air leak away from a crisis, and they won't have this. But with one roll, you're armed against weather, germs, pests, even light detection. It's not glamorous, it's not tactical, but it's one of the most functional, versatile survival tools you'll ever own. Stock it before the next wave hits, because once it's gone, there's no substitute. Number 9. Headlamp with red light mode. When you're navigating in total darkness, both hands busy, adrenaline pumping, you don't want to be juggling a flashlight between your teeth. That's where a headlamp with red light mode becomes one of the most essential, yet often ignored, survival tools out there. Not just for convenience, but for stealth, security, and stamina. Here's the thing: regular white light is blinding in low-light environments. It blows your night vision, makes you visible from hundreds of yards away, and turns you into a beacon for anyone or anything watching. But a red light? It preserves your eye's natural night adjustment and drastically reduces your visibility to others. That's the difference between moving unnoticed or becoming a target. FEMA still recommends basic flashlights. No mention of hands-free lights, no word on color modes. But when you're setting up camp, dressing wounds, checking maps, or loading gear, you'll quickly realize a headlamp is non-negotiable. Look for models with multiple brightness settings, a tilting head, and a durable, weatherproof shell. Battery life matters, too, especially in cold environments. Some advanced headlamps even come with lockout modes, so they don't turn on accidentally in your bag. Red light isn't just tactical, it's also energy efficient. It uses less battery, which means longer runtime in a situation where recharging might not be possible. Pro tip: carry one headlamp on your person and stash a second as backup in your bug-out bag. If you're working with a group, red light helps keep operations quiet and coordinated without alerting the entire neighborhood. This isn't about hiking or camping. It's about control of your movement, your visibility, and your energy. And once the power cuts out and chaos sets in, this small tool becomes a massive advantage. Stay mobile. Stay hidden. Stay lit, but on your terms. Let's be real. FEMA's approved checklist is designed to keep people surviving, just barely. But you're not watching this because you want to barely get by. You're watching this because you want to be 10 steps ahead when the grid fails, the shelves are bare, and the panic sets in. These 12 tools, they're not just hidden, they're intentionally ignored. Because they represent control, independence, and skills the system doesn't want the average person to have. That's why they're not mentioned. But now you know, and knowledge like this, it's your edge when the lights go out and the world flips upside down. So don't wait until these tools are impossible to find. Don't be the person watching chaos unfold from behind a locked door with nothing but regrets and a dead flashlight. Drop a comment how many of these tools are already in your setup. And if you're serious about staying off the radar, ahead of the curve, and fully ready, hit that subscribe. No fluff, no filler, just real survival intel that could one day save your life. Stay sharp. Stay hidden. Stay ready.